this is kind of our final rendering, where we have utilities put in place. And so I didn't need a utility plan for my county or anything. So we just kind of came up with, I just laid the, again in Photoshop, I laid the sewer, water, and electrical infrastructure over our grading plan, which shows sewer as well. And so you can kind of see here where all of our infrastructure ditches are going to be. These are 3 feet wide. They'll be about 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet deep. And as you can see, this is the lower point of, in terms of topography, this is the lower point down here by the stream crossing. And then as you go up here, the elevation increases. So what we tried to do was put our septic tanks down here by the bathhouse so that everything is flowing downhill. We do have to pump up to the septic field, which is fairly common. And that's, so our whole septic piece is done by an engineer. It's called Engineered Option Permit, EOP. That's really definitely not the easiest way to go, but it ensures that the system's going to be done right. We thought about going through the county, but since this is like a dual pump system, it's a little more complicated than normal, and I just didn't want to get hung up. I knew going with the engineered option permit would take X amount of time. Actually, it took longer than we thought, but took X amount of time and X amount of cost, and then you're done with it. And I didn't have that same confidence going the county route. Although knowing what I know now, I might go the county route next time. Regardless, that's the way we went. And so basically what that process looked like is meeting with the soil scientists. I think I talked about in an earlier video that we had borings done originally for our perk test, just to see if the soil was good enough for the septic field. And I would have gone with doing test pits right off the bat instead of the borings. The difference is really the big difference is we were in due diligence, and you start digging test pits. I mean, we dug like 20 or 30 test pits, so it's a huge mess, and we had to do a lot of clearing to get to that area. And so if you're in due diligence and you haven't officially bought this property yet, it's kind of hard to go in and do that kind of, it's really a devastation to the grounds and stuff. So it's one of these catch-22s where I think you just need to think it through. And again, going back in time, I probably would have just had a conversation with the owners to say, look, we need to do test pits. It's going to be, we're going to tear up this much of the ground or the brush in the woods. But we'll put the grass back in place, and we'll make it look as good as possible when we're done with it. Because otherwise you're really paying to do that work twice, and which is what we did. We had the soil borings, and it wasn't that those were inconclusive. It's just that with a pit that's 3 feet wide and 4 feet deep, you can really get in that pit and look at the soil and find out the exact conditions of the soil. So we originally thought we were going to put our septic field down here next to the road. Come to find out, the soil is not quite good enough. So we had to go up into this whole area. So this is our septic field, drain field, and this is our repair area. But keep in mind that, especially if you're working with a small piece of property, that in most of these places that are going to be on septic because they're, uh, a glamping place or an outdoor resort, probably not going to be near the city. So you're going to end up being on septic, and it's just, I can't stress enough how important it is to, make sure septic is done right in, in the sequencing. And so I'm happy to talk through that with anybody. If anybody has questions, you could just ask questions, in the comment section, or reach out to me. And I'll put my contacts into into these YouTube videos somewhere. So anyhow, this is where we're at now with our development. We've got all of our permits, which are basically just the soil and sedimentation / erosion control plan permit, and then the culvert permit to cross the stream. That's from the Department of Environmental Quality and the Army Corps of Engineers. And I guess the summary of all this permitting is to say that, look, you could probably get away with not doing it if you just disturb less than an acre. However, this property is an asset, right? And so you have to think about it in terms of, you start doing work on a major asset like this, to have the engineering to back it up later on down the road. I've had a couple of people tell me this. It's important because if we go ahead and do something that doesn't meet, that doesn't meet a certain requirement for the state or the Army Corps of Engineers or something like that, you could have some trouble down the road trying to sell the place, or trying to get refinance done, because the refinance is based on appraisal, right? So this took a little bit longer than we would have liked, and obviously there's costs associated with it. At some point, I'll probably roll out our costs on pre-engineering and planning and all that stuff. But I think it's worth it in the long run, because this is a long-term project, right? It's a long-term asset. It'll be a long-term hold for us. And so that's it. We're ready to break ground. And so we're breaking ground in September here. Super excited about that. And next video, or a couple of videos, number one, I'll get into the design for cabins. I'll get into Wonderland, just what is it? What is this place, and what are we doing here? Let's see. I'll show another video will be the investor deck. And probably get into amenities and all that at one point too. So again, the important takeaways I think from this video are creating a site plan to create a budget, creating a budget to get investment, right? And getting investment to build. So hope this is helpful, and see you in the next one. Cheers.